Good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Let's just get right into it. Pam Bondi is testifying before the House Oversight Committee this morning. Pam Bondi is the former Attorney General. She was the Village Idiot's Attorney General. Pam Bondi was probably the least qualified Attorney General, certainly in my lifetime. I actually thought that although I knew she was a Trump lunatic, that she was a sycophantic nut job when she was nominated for the position, and we knew the chicken shit GOP senators who are in control of the Senate and were at the time, were going to confirm her without any problem. I actually didn't think that I knew she would be awful and I knew she was crazy, but I didn't think she was incompetent like the rest of the Trumpian cabinet. I have since learned that they're all incompetent. They're all intellectually incapable of doing their jobs and thoroughly unqualified. Every single cabinet member. Bondi is no different. Bondi, in my humble opinion, is the most significant witness to testify before the sham committee thus far. She is, in many ways, I would assume, with the village idiot himself, although he's not smart enough to sort of come up with this, and with whatever goons around them, have been sort of masterminding the Epstein Cover Up, the catastrophic strategy that has been this cover up of the Epstein files. She's part of that cabal. She was part of that confederacy of dunces who tried to protect the village idiot Donald Trump. And he is certainly implicated, in my opinion, in the Epstein files. His name is mentioned enough, and there's enough circumstantial evidence, as far as I'm concerned, in the Epstein files that have been released. There are still 3 million some odd files that I'm sure implicate him completely beyond just my opinion. But it's my opinion from a lot of the files, what we've already seen in the Epstein files, that Donald Trump, at least in one instance, probably two, raped underage girls with Jeffrey Epstein's blessing and being a part of that community. And it's probably far worse than we can actually imagine at this time. But Pam Bondi knows. She knows what is in those files, I would assume. And she knows the cover-up probably better than anyone. So having Pam Bondi come before this oversight committee is imperative. Now, you have to remember, the Oversight Committee is a sham committee. It's run by Republicans. There are strong Democrats on the committee that are able to do whatever they can to set the record straight. Congressman Garcia is the ranking member, is the ranking Democrat, and he's done a pretty damn good job under these circumstances exposing the cover-up itself. And Garcia, along with Republican Congressman Massey, Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna, and others, almost the entire Democratic House caucus, and believe it or not, Republicans Lauren Boebert, former Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace, Republican Congresswoman Anna Paulina. Believe it or not, with those folks, we were able to get the Epstein Transparency Act that the village idiot passed in the House and subsequently agreed to in the Senate that the village idiot Donald Trump had to sign. That was the law that required the Department of Justice to release all the Epstein files, not half or not those that don't completely implicate the village idiot Donald Trump, but all of them. And that hasn't happened. And that's a crime. And Pam Bondi is one of the perpetuators of that crime. So she's testifying now behind closed doors as I'm recording this right now with this sort of sham House committee. James Comer, he's the committee chair. He is the guy who is basically responsible for the cover-up at the congressional committee level. Comer is pathetic. He's just a sad, pathetic figure in the Trump. He's not in the Trump administration, but in Congress for Donald Trump. So before we go any further, let me bring up Comer's. I'm not going to do the whole thing because it's 10 minutes of babble and nonsense, but just let's listen to a few moments of Comer before this closed-door committee. It's also important to note, before I play this Comer clip, it's important to note that this committee deposition is not being videotaped. It's not being recorded, and it will only be transcribed. And if we get that transcription at all, it will be probably in weeks. Now, you'd say, well, do they have to, does Comer have to allow for video recording of this deposition? No. But why wouldn't he? Because he was happy to, when Hillary Clinton was deposed, he was happy to have that recorded, right? Because they thought they would get her. That turned out to be a disaster for Comer and the committee. They thought they would find something, that these Republicans on the committee would be able to trip her up. But they couldn't trip her up for two reasons. One, she wasn't lying, right? She wasn't covering anything up. Two, they're idiots, right? That's the problem. The Democrats on the committee are competent. They are aggressive. They have the truth on their side, and they're intellectually capable. The Republicans on the committee, by and large, are just imbeciles, whether they're imbeciles by choice or by circumstance, because you have to be an imbecile to be a Republican in Congress or in the White House during the Trump administration. But either by choice or by circumstance, they're idiots. So they couldn't trip up Hillary because they were no good at it, and she had nothing to lie about. So, but they hoped that they would. So they recorded, we all saw the video and it was a disaster for them because Lauren Boebert tried to, released actual video or photos, I think, of Hillary's deposition to some right-wing podcaster, which wasn't agreed upon. And it turned out to be a big scandal midway through the hearing. Through the deposition. But this deposition, like any other that could potentially be dangerous to the village idiot Donald Trump and the Epstein class, whatever creeps he's also protecting, whatever rapists like the rapist Donald Trump, that the rapist Donald Trump, whatever other rapist, pedophile rapist, like the pedophile rapist that Donald Trump is, any other pedophile rapist, he's trying to, they're trying to protect them as well. So this will not be videotaped because Jim Comer won't allow that, and he's the committee chair, and he gets to make that decision. So let's listen to a few of his words before this deposition started today. Come on, Jim. Get up here. I'm sorry, guys. I should have clipped this better out for you, so just bear with us for a second.
Hello, I want to thank everyone for being here today. This will be our 13th interview thus far in the Epstein investigation. We'll be having former Attorney General Pam Bondi. This is the second time she's come voluntarily. She came a few months ago for a briefing. Unfortunately, the Democrats got up and walked out of that.
Now, wait a minute, Mr. Comer. Let's not politicize this, right? Unfortunately, the Democrats got up and walked out. Well, why did the Democrats get up and walk out? Why? Let's just read some reporting. Don't take my word for it. Let's read some reporting of when that happened. During her last deposition, Democrats walk out of Pam Bondi briefing on Epstein files over subpoena compliance. Let's just continue reading. House Democrats walked out of a closed-door hearing with Attorney General Pam Bondi on Wednesday while she was briefing lawmakers on the Epstein files, a day after being subpoenaed to testify in mid-April. Democratic member of the Republican-led House Oversight Committee told reporters Bondi, who was joined by Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, would not commit to complying with the subpoena for her sworn testimony, April 14th, to answer questions about the Justice Department's handling of records related to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Robert Garcia, the ranking member, the Democratic ranking member on the committee, said Bondi, quote, refused on multiple occasions to commit to following the subpoena. The subpoena had certain things on it. There were certain things that she was expected to answer, certain procedures she needed to follow. Every time we've seen a live testimony of Bondi, testifying before a House or Senate committee, she lies, she stonewalls, she changes the topic, she makes things up, and she insults. She busies herself insulting Democrats. That's all she does. And this has happened over and over and over again. And when it came to this subpoena, this behind the scenes, no cameras in the room, intentionally, uh, deposition of Bondi, the Democrats weren't going to put up with that. They weren't going to tolerate it anymore because there's no way it would be their word against Comer's word and Bondi's word. And Bondi would have come out of this hearing and spun this any way she wanted. There'd be no way to prove that she was lying, even though we know she's lying. Comer would have spun this with her. And Democrats had just had it. They had it with playing games. The politics of the Epstein cover up are on the Democrats' side. The morality of the Epstein cover up is on the Democrats' side. The reality, the real things related to the Epstein cover up is on the Democrats' side. So Democrats finally decided, you know what, we have the wind at our backs when it comes to this. Even a lot of the MAGA, hard line MAGA followers of the village idiot Donald Trump are incensed at him and Bondi about their handling of the Epstein files. So why sit in there and give these propagandist imbeciles an opportunity to come out with some new line of bullshit that's not verifiable, that can just distract from the whole story? So Democrats rightfully walk the fuck out. And they also understood the politics of the game because they knew there was no way, if they walked out, that Bondi wouldn't have to come back to testify, especially with the midterms coming up, a second time. And I'm sure they're well prepared to walk out today because they own the narrative, because it is what it is. Let's continue.
Briefing. Many of the Republicans asked her questions for a couple of hours during that briefing, and I appreciate that she's coming back today voluntarily for a transcribed interview. We have, as I said earlier, this is the 13th interview. We have 6 more on the books. On June 9th, we have Leslie Groff, who's an Epstein assistant. June 10th, Bill Gates.
Leslie Groff, by the way, is alleged, and according to the Epstein files, it's clearly indicative that she was a groomer, that she was like Ghislaine Maxwell. She was not just an assistant, but she was out there with Maxwell grooming young girls.
Everyone knows who that is. June 26th, Leon Black. June 30th, Doug Band.
I don't know who Doug Band is.
July 15th, Kathy Rumler. And July 23rd, Jess Staley. So we're continuing to move along, and hopefully today will be beneficial.
All right, so that's enough of Comer. So now let's listen to what Ranking Member Garcia said before he went in.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm just very brief. Good morning.
Good to see you. How are you?
Hey. Just very brief. I know we're about to start. Robert Garcia, the leader of House Democrats on the committee. I just want to be very clear that we continue to be incredibly disappointed of the decision to not have this interview videotaped and then released to the American public. The second thing we asked Chairman Comer is to ensure that this interview is under oath. We understand the Attorney General is going to be there answering questions from Congress, but it should have been under oath and it should be videotaped. We obviously have a lot of questions as it relates to why only 50% of the files have been released, why many of the survivors were literally put in danger by the way the files were released, that private information should never have been released, and of course, why this continues to be some type of cover-up. And so those are our questions. There's many questions. We'll be here for the next few hours. But it's really important that we get to the truth and that the Attorney General answers the questions truthfully. And we'll continue to push, of course, for a videotape release transcript for everybody else. So thank you very much.
Now, Garcia he made the points incredibly clear. Of course, the video, the cover up, the continued cover up is so ridiculously obvious. It's so transparent. It's if this wasn't such a disgusting situation based on such a disgusting set of crimes, this would be laughable. right? This would be laughable. The absurdity of the transparent nature of this cover up, the obvious cover up. And you could see the frustration in Garcia's face. You could hear it in his voice. Almost like that he has to participate in this absurd fucking stupidity. It's not just. It's not what makes this so egregious is it's not just stupid, which it is. It's sick. It's so fucking demented. The worst sexual trafficking ring potentially in modern history, right, was perpetrated or perpetuated by an American citizen, an incredibly wealthy, middle-aged white man who was the most sick, deranged fuck on the planet at the time. Helping him was his psychotic, sociopathic girlfriend, friend, Ghislaine Maxwell, whatever the hell she is, and wrapped up in this madness, in this massive sex trafficking ring, were wealthy men from all over the world, rich, powerful, sick, fucking creeps raping young girls from all over the world. And in the middle of all of it, at least as it pertains to this moment in our political history, is the village idiot Donald Trump. So Garcia, because Democrats are not in the majority right now, they have to play this ridiculous game that is an affront to common decency. And you can feel it. You can see it in Garcia's, again, in the sound of his voice and the frustration of the limitations imposed upon him. And the sick, and I mean it in the truest sense of the word, the sick fucking joke that this whole thing is. Now, again, we're never going to see Bondi being backed into a corner, sweating, and being pressured by Democrats. We'll never see that documentation. We will get the transcript, hopefully, whenever they think they can release it with the fewest of us paying attention. Maybe when the village idiot Donald Trump decides he's going to invade Cuba, or start up the active hot war in Iran today, whatever the news cycle affords Comer the opportunity to release the transcript, hoping nobody will see it. But we will see it. I will read the whole thing. We'll talk about it. We'll read some of it, whether we're doing it in an episode like this that's recorded or in a live stream, but we'll go over it in detail. And we'll look at other news reports and we'll see what the experts say about it. So we'll cover that. And make sure you subscribe if you're on YouTube or if you're on Substack. Please make sure you like and subscribe for more of this. Unfortunately, we won't know anything for a couple of hours till either the hearing is over or maybe in an hour and a half, 2 hours if there's a break, if they call a break in the hearing. And then all we're going to know is we're going to hear Comer come out and give a press conference, and we're going to hear him lie, right? We're certainly probably going to hear Bondi come out and do a press conference and watch her lie, although I'd be eager to see her press conference because she's so bad at lying. She's so incompetent. She's as incompetent and useless a liar as she was as the Attorney General. So we may be able to glean something from watching her have a press conference if she does, and seeing if there are any good questions, because there certainly will be good reporters. I would think, maybe not. Maybe they'll only allow the right-wing extremist podcasters and Fox News propagandists around her if there's a press conference. I have a feeling that that's probably what will happen, but we'll see. And then we'll hear, once we get Garcia and the Oversight Committee Democrats' perspective on it, then we'll be able to hear some semblance of the truth, but they won't be able to tell us everything because a lot of it they'll have to keep their mouth shut about just by the rules and regulations of the deposition in the House until and if the transcript gets released. So I'll keep you posted. Thank you.